What's going on, everybody, and welcome to Coffee Break Tuesday. My name is Rob. Pour a cup of coffee, sit back, and enjoy this beautiful world we live in. Today, I want to discuss something that I believe we all take for granted. It's a motif that I come across in many books. This idea that the past is better than the present. The fallacy of believing what is old is right, and what we have now is not as good. So, lest we be deceived, it gets me from time to time. Let's roll into it.
Bells ringing, birds singing, hello, good morning.
When I was young, a group of us would go hunting with a pack of beagles. And now, my dad would always go and pick up this older man, and he was too old to drive at the time, and I think he just liked getting out of the house. Sometimes, he would not even shoot, but that was really not the reason for this old man wanting to go. He was 93 years old when I last spoke to him, and this would be around 2014. He would grow up during the Depression, and he would serve in World War II as a Marine, and then he would get called back to visit a place called Pirie. I would sit with this old man on the tailgate sometimes and delay my participation in the hunt, because I was old enough at the time to realize that this old man would probably not be around much longer. I asked question after question, and I made sure to let this old man speak as much as possible. I listened to every story he told me. Eating potatoes for an entire year during the Depression, his decision to join the military in a time of war to get out of poverty, and his experience in both wars. First the islands of Japan, and then Korea. His struggles questioning faith after coming home. His small convenience store he opened and his family he raised. He told me details that are hard to imagine nowadays. It's one thing to read books about these times or watch a documentary about them. It's another when the old man is choking up beside you, and then a minute later, laughing about how lucky he got. It just hits different. One thing I like to ask the older generation is, what was the best time they ever lived in? Almost always, anyone who grew up after the Depression will say the 1950s or the 80s, and now it's even the 90s. So I asked the old timer, I said, Mr. Neal, out of all the decades you've lived in, what was the best one? What are your thoughts? He turned his head kind of halfway over to me, and I'll never forget, he spoke. Of all the times I've been through, the times you are living in right now are the best. Those who say otherwise did not grow up during the Depression or remember it. He said none of his children have ever truly known hunger. He said, have you been hungry? Then he looked right at me, and he said, I mean truly hungry. He said, the world you live in right now is unbelievable compared to what it could be, compared to what I've seen. He said, I just hope it can last. And raising his cup, right before he took a sip, I remember him like it was yesterday saying, you live in the best times. Mr. Neal is gone now, but I go through his stories in my head often. There is a book inside everyone who makes it to 93, and I made sure I made time to listen to that old man's book every chance I could get. Books can be dangerous in the sense that the writer can make the times appear too appealing. You read about the glory and the prestige of the times, but you do not see the eyes glistening or hear the voice wavering and starting to crack. I often fall for the golden age fallacy or the rosy retrospection, which is the belief that the past was inherently better than the present. We remember the past as more positive than it actually was. We idolize the good and overlook the evil. One negative aspect of reading history is usually authors realize that positive spins are needed to keep the reader interested. Bias is usually included by the winner of history as well to make the cause appear more appealing than it actually was. And if you are too honest, well, some people may be offended and not read it. But that is not the point of this video. Most of us live in the best time in history. And I say most because I know there are a few guys from Ukraine that comment from time to time. Not all of us are in the same boat. But I've reflected for over a decade now on what this old man, Mr. Neal, told me. Wherever you are sitting, just look around at all the conveniences that Mr. Neal did not have at 11 years old during the Depression. I have lights, I have hot and cold running water, I have a pantry full of food, I have clothes for my kids, we have AC and heat, and yet I complain. Could things be improved? Most definitely. I think the best way for that to occur now is to fix yourself and be an example for those around you. If you want virtue and morals, then be virtuous and strive for a moral character. Mr. Neal never boasted. He never shamed, and I never heard him disparage the generations like many do today. He mentioned once how the World War I generation thought his generation were wimps, as he put it. I learned a lot from that old man. The hunting trips usually just turned into the most amazing history lessons I ever had. My message for the year coming up is just simply enjoy this beautiful time while it lasts. We could be living in the times of Mr. Neal very quickly if we are not prudent in our decisions. Read to understand, listen to those who have lived longer than you, and enjoy the life you have inherited from the brave men and women of the past. If you would like to support the channel, my coffee is always linked in the description below. I love you all, and I can't wait to see you in the next video. Enjoy life this year. We currently live in the best of times, so stay blessed. I love you all.